what did you end up doing for the parents, to rectify it specifically?
Okay, so it's a great question, Basti, but I'm gonna like rewind what you said because I have a few things to say
Yeah,
based on what you said. You said about the Holocaust, which is true, but I think that you didn't explain it as clearly as my understanding of it is that in the Holocaust, the only way to have survived the Holocaust, and as I get older and I read more about it, I am just absolutely amazed how anybody could have survived that.
I
But
think about it all the time. Like,
it's
it's
unbelievable, right?
unbelievable. Yeah. The survival mechanisms that kicked in, and then the trauma that was there, and then just to be able to go and rebuild on any level, right? Whether it was, right. And some people rebuilt and from a place of just really healthy, and some people built from a place of, trauma, but to rebuild like that.
For sure. So you're using the word trauma, and it was absolutely traumatic. The my understanding of it is that the way that they got through the trauma was they had to dissociate, which means that they had to not feel their emotions.
Yeah.
And these are the people who raised our parents.
Yeah.
Not, and they did the right thing. Like I always say, a lot of the times now when we're learning this work, and we say like, wow, we're giving to our children that our parents were not able to give to us. I said, our parents gave us, the survival mechanisms. Like
Right.
they lived, they grew up
Yeah.
with parents who our grandparents, the only way for them to have survived was not to be in touch with their emotions. I believe that
Yeah.
the people who anyone who was in touch with their emotions in a very healthy way would have been overcome by the emotions. You could not, you can't feel sad that an
Yeah.
entire, 6 million people died. There's no emotion for that.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to completely dissociate, and that is what they did to survive, and they did the right thing. So then our parents came along, and exactly, there was a combination of children need to be seen and not heard, and there was also like a totally invalidating experience, meaning like a kid comes home, and our parents' age comes home, in their 60s, they came home and they said, someone was mean to me on the playground, and they say, you
Right.
want to hear mean? I'll tell you, mean. Hitler was mean.
Right, right.
Like
So I think the ones that had the chutzpah to speak, like maybe my parents, um, because they weren't children of survivors, they were getting a lot of you shouldn't feel that way because people suffered. The ones who were children of survivors told it to themselves, meaning there just wasn't there, right? And obviously we're generalizing tremendously, but there just wasn't talk about it at all, right? I wouldn't speak up and kvetch about something, and nobody would say you shouldn't feel that way. We would just nullify all the feelings, right? To or lock it in. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, we have this today also. God forbid if there's an illness or if there's a terrible divorce and then the child comes home and didn't like their lunch. It's okay, like I can't,
Right.
I can't possibly, I don't have it in me to validate and empathize with an experience that has just seems so foreign to me right now. So our parents grew up with that, with just a total lack of education. They didn't have the lingo. There was nobody. I'm thinking about my Hungarian grandmother. They never said that we were sad, we were disappointed. It just never happened. So
Right.
our parents naturally didn't learn it, and they did whatever they can, and they raised, I think, a very healthy generation. I just think that right now, I mean, not, I think that the world has changed. Dan Siegel led the way in terms of so many emotion management techniques, and really honestly believes that all of these emotion words need to be understood and differentiated and identified for it's a totally different world. Basia, I've taken your course, which I actually found fascinating, your 30-day
Yeah.
coaching, and a lot of what you talk about is emotional eating. Also, of course,
Of
we
course.
that's who doesn't eat when they're emotional. But part of what I think that the work that we can actually do together is that so many people, they know that they eat emotionally, but what is the emotion? Typically when you ask adults, how many emotions, name 5 emotions, ask. And I'm inviting the podcast
Yeah.
to do this. I don't want to embarrass you, but I want to see how many emotions you can come up. People are very, very limited in their emotional vocabulary, which means it's limited in the way that they communicate. So
I,
right.
I wonder if also, as we're talking about this, it's limited, right? I know I'm having multiple different experiences and they don't all feel the same, but I have limited language for it. But overlaying that is, right, besides for not having the language, is also not having the permission, right?
Sure.
And that's, and I think that that's a big piece of it, because what I see a lot in my office is, uh, feeling guilt about feeling this way, or feeling guilt that I'm still feeling this way, especially if we've been working on this for a while, or feeling or feeling shame, overlaying any of the other emotions. So there's a resistance to it, and that could come from childhood, or that could come from just watching people who have, sort of like comparing suffering and saying, well, I shouldn't feel this way because people have it worse and they feel right, and they're and they're and they're okay, right?